Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Saturday, November 27, 2021, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. 5 plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 270 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting advice that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks and advice. Notre Dame vs Stanford. One weakness of the offense has been the vulnerability to quarterback sacks. The Irish have allowed 16 on the year, 5th most in college football. The standout on the offense has been the super play of tight end Michael Mayer, who has 55 catches and leads the team with 663 yards, 66.3 per game, while hauling in 5 touchdowns. As stated earlier, the Irish are playing great defense. They only give up on average 18 points per game, good enough for the 12th best in the FCS. Our first betting advice is to pick Notre Dame minus 18.5. The offense has been pathetic of late, as Stanford has averaged just 10.7 ppg on 229 IP of total offense over their last 3 games. It will not get easier against a Notre Dame defense that has been lights out of late. Stanford had 290 yards of total offense against the Cal Bears, with just 43 yards coming on the ground. They will need to do better here, but the Cardinal are just 126th in the nation in rushing at 90.2 IP. Tanner McKee threw for 247 yards against the Bears, but with 2 ints and no TDs. He has not had a bad year, throwing for 2163 yards with 14 TDs and 7 ints so far. Stanford will need a big game from him if they hope to keep this one close. Our second betting advice is to pick over 52. Nevada vs Colorado State. Nevada is coming off an overtime loss to Air Force by a score of 41-39. In the game, the Wolfpack showed a lot of fight as they fell behind 17-0 in the first quarter. However, their 14-point fourth quarter was enough to send the game into overtime. Ultimately, Nevada fell in the third overtime, dropping their second game in a row. Carson Strong had one of his better games of the season, throwing for 351 yards and 4 touchdowns. In their 5th straight loss, Colorado State lost to the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors by a score of 50-45. In the high-scoring affair, quarterback Todd Centeio threw for 527 yards and 5 touchdowns. However, his 2 turnovers were crucial in a game decided by less than 1 possession. Our second betting advice is to pick the Nevada Wolfpack minus 4.0. Colorado State is averaging 24.9 points per game, 95th overall, and they are 61st in yards per game at 413.5. The Rams have a solid ground game led by David Bailey, who has rushed for 738 yards and 9 touchdowns. However, he is averaging just 3.9 yards per carry. This is one of the big challenges for Colorado State, as they are averaging 3.7 yards per carry as a team. Centeio has rushed for 473 yards, but it is his arm that has been the key for Colorado State, throwing for 2773 yards and 15 touchdowns, while completing 60.1% of his passes. Trey McBride easily leads this team in receptions with 84 for 1,008 yards. The next closest player on the team has 45 fewer catches. Our second betting advice is to pick over 56.5. Quick reminder, BetUS is a platform that offers betting on all major sport and horse racing leagues. It has slots, table games, blackjack, and a variety of other casino games. All of the major US leagues are available for betting, including the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and PGA. In addition, BetUS allows wagers on esports, Olympic events, soccer, cricket, boxing, cycling, and many more competitions. Join BetUS now using our link down below and get 125% cashback bonus on your first deposit on the sportsbook after you open an account and deposit using our link and use our promo code HIGHSTAKES. California vs UCLA. This season, California QB Chase Garbers has 2,030 passing yards and has connected on 170 of 260 passes for a solid 65.4% completion percentage. He has 15 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. Garbers is a run threat and has 420 rushing yards on 72 carries and 3 touchdowns. Cal features a two-headed running attack. Damian Moore has 91 carries for a team-high 495 rushing yards, 49.5 per game, and 6 touchdowns. The complementary back, Christopher Brown Jr., has 440 yards on 79 carries, 44.0 IP, with 1 rushing touchdown. The defense has been stingy, giving up only 21 points per contest. The defense is much better against the run than the pass. The passing game is not nearly as good and ranks in the mid-60s, with some 230 yards in the air per contest. The electric running back, Zach Charbonnet, leads the team on the ground. He averages 101 yards per game and has 10 touchdowns on the season. UCLA signal caller Dorian Thompson-Robinson is completing 61.6% of his passes and has thrown 15 touchdowns against 6 interceptions this season. He is dangerous with the ball in his hands, running for 48 yards per game on 103 carries with 9 touchdowns. The UCLA defense is shaky and allows around 28 points per game. They are pretty decent against the run, ranking 33rd in the FBS, but they are very vulnerable in the passing game, leaking some 272.5 yards against per game, making them one of the worst passing defenses in the NCAA, 121st. Our first betting advice is to pick the Nevada Wolfpack -4.0. Colorado State is averaging 24.9 points per game, 95th overall, and they are 61st in yards per game at 413.5. The Rams have a solid ground game led by David Bailey, who has rushed for 738 yards and 9 touchdowns. However, he is averaging just 3.9 yards per carry. This is one of the big challenges for Colorado State, as they are averaging 3.7 yards per carry as a team. Our second betting advice is to pick over 57. BYU versus Southern California. The BYU Cougars have been a solid defensive team thus far as they are giving up 23.6 points per game. In their previous game against the Georgia Southern Eagles, they allowed 17 points on 268 total yards of offense, 122 passing, 146 rushing. The Eagles were able to run the football well as they averaged 3.9 yards per rush. BYU was also able to force a pair of turnovers, both interceptions, so their secondary defended well. The USC Trojans have been struggling a bit on the defensive side of the field as they are allowing 32.2 points per game. In their previous game against the UCLA Bruins, they gave up 62 points on 609 total yards of offense, 349 passing, 260 rushing. The Bruins were able to move the ball extremely well as they went 6 of 9 on third down attempts. The Trojans need to defend the passing attack a lot better as they allowed 15.9 passing yards per pass attempt. Our first betting advice is to pick BYU -7. The defense has been their issue down the stretch, as the Trojans have allowed 40.6 PPG over their last 5 games to fall to 103rd in the nation in points allowed at 32.2 PPG. USC allowed UCLA to pile up 609 yards of total offense, including 260 on the ground and 349 through the air. USC is now 92nd against the pass and 96th against the run, and they could have a tough time stopping a very good BYU offense that has been putting things together down the stretch. The USC offense has not had many issues this year, especially when it comes to throwing the ball, as the Trojans come in ranked 14th in the nation in that department. Keaton Slavis has been the starter for most of the year, and he has thrown for 2153 yards, with 11 TDs and 8 ints. Slavis is questionable for this one, and if he can't go, it will be Jackson Dart, who threw for 325 yards with 1 TD and 2 ints against the Bruins last week. It was his first career start, but he has now thrown for 914 yards with 7 TDs and 5 ints. He would be facing a below-average BYU pass defense. Our second betting advice is to pick under 64.5.